This video will demonstrate the solid shell stitch. A shell stitch is 5 double crochet stitches worked into the same space. And the solid shell stitch layers rows of shell stitches one on top of the other. I'll show you how it's made. When you're working solid shell stitch, you're going to work in multiples of 6 plus 1. And for our starting chain, we're going to add an extra chain just so we can turn and start a single crochet. So I've got 14 stitches here. We're going to start by working into the second chain from the hook, and we'll single crochet. We're going to then skip 2 stitches and create our first shell, which is 5 double crochets into the same spot. We'll then skip 2 more stitches and single crochet. And then skip 2 and shell. Those single crochets just sort of anchor down the side of your shell stitch, and then it gives the second row a place to make a shell stitch so we can stagger them. And then our full fabric is made up of those, really of all those shell stitches. That way too, there's no right and wrong side to this motif. Both sides will end up looking the same. And then we'll single crochet after skipping 2 to end that row. Next, we're going to move on to our second row where we'll chain 3. That's going to count as a double crochet. So if you imagine beyond our first row that we want each new shell to go between others, we basically need to create a half of a shell here. So we're going to do our chain 3, which is going to count as a double crochet, and into that same stitch we'll make 2 more double crochets. So we're making sort of like a half of the arch for a shell. And then we'll work a single crochet after skipping 2, so to the very top of the shell from the previous row. And then we will work a full shell stitch here between the other shells from the previous row. So we'll put 5 double crochets here. So we'll skip our 2, single crochet into the top, and then just like we did on our the side where we started, where we made half of a shell, we're going to do the same thing at the end of our row. So we'll put 3 double crochets into the final stitch here. Next, we'll move on to row 3. We'll turn our work and chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet into the first stitch. And then as you can see, we're again between these shell stitches, there's that single crochet, and we're gonna shell stitch into there. We'll skip 2, single crochet, we'll skip 2 again and shell into the single crochet, this one's a bit of a yarn eater. You're going to use quite a bit of yardage getting this really beautiful texture, but I think it's worth it. Okay, and then we'll end that row just like we started with a single crochet into the turning chain. Then going forward for your piece, you are just going to alternate those rows, row 2, row 3, over and over again until it gets to the desired height of your stitches. And that's how we do the solid shell stitch.